This week, we're concluding our summer worship series that has had us exploring a different national park or monument each week. We've been looking at what makes each holy space unique, as well as what we might learn from it to inform and enrich our lives. Today's focus is on Hot Springs National Park in what is now Arkansas, and our theme is Sabbath. As we celebrate the sacredness of our preserved lands, we also need to acknowledge the sacredness of these places to the first people who lived here, as well as the injustices that caused great harm. For 8,000 to 10,000 years, Indigenous people have been coming to Hot Springs, most often calling it Valley of Vapors. American Indian tribes associated with the park include the Caddo, Quapaw, Choctaw, and Cherokee. They believed, as many do today, that the warmth and minerals in the waters have medicinal properties. This was a sacred place of healing and rest, where Indigenous groups set aside their differences to come together in peace. Setting aside differences became even more important as many tribes were forced west by expansion of white settlement. In addition to the hot springs, Native American groups also came to the area to quarry novaculite, a raw material important in making stone tools. The Caddo people are a confederacy of native tribes who were historically farmers, hunters, builders, artists, traders, warriors, dancers, and priests. The Caddo creation story tells us that a long time ago, humans and animals were siblings and lived together below the ground. Their leader, a man named Nish, which means moon, discovered the entrance to a cave leading up to the Earth's surface. Nish told everyone that they would have to follow him to the new land. Fire was traditionally important to the Caddo. Each village kept a fire perpetually burning, often tended to by an elder. It is not hard to imagine how warm water coming from beneath the surface might be connected to these stories. As mentioned in previous weeks, the Cherokee people, the largest Native American group in North America, were expert farmers, hunters, and gatherers. The Cherokee people believed the world should have balance, harmony, cooperation, and respect within the community and between people and the rest of nature. Finding and restoring beauty is an important part of keeping the balance in the world for the Cherokee. The Choctaw believe in powerful supernatural forces that connect all beings to each other. Maintaining balance between all those seen and unseen is of great importance. Community dancing, singing, and storytelling are central components of the community. Some Choctaw creation stories link the creation of corn to the creation of humans. The Choctaw observe the green corn ceremony every year when the corn is ready to eat. This is a time of renewal when homes and villages are cleaned, sacred fires are extinguished and then relit, and debts are forgiven. The Quapaw people's name translates to downstream people because they migrated from Ohio down the Missouri River a millennia ago. When the French arrived in the 1670s, they became extensive trading partners with the Quapaw. The French called the Quapaw the Arkansas, which is a word from the Indigenous Illini people for people of the South Wind. The Quapaw believed that the Creator, whom they call Wakanda, blessed everything on earth with life. They believe all humans share a mutual obligation with every other being in creation. Traditionally, there were two groups of people within the Quapaw: sky people, who were responsible for spiritual matters, and earth people, who were responsible for taking care of earthly needs. Each task was considered of equal importance in maintaining balance within the community. The early white settlers to the area were quick to recognize that Hot Springs would have great resort potential as a place for people to come, to rest, and to heal. The people who already lived there were seen as an inconvenience to those plans. As has been a recurring theme throughout this worship series, contact with people of European descent brought suffering, diseases, exploitation of the land, and dislocation of the first peoples. With the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, when the United States purchased the region from the French, indigenous groups in and around Hot Springs were forced into settlement in Oklahoma or fled to Mexico and were not allowed to return. In 1818, the Quapaw were the last of these groups to cede their lands to the United States as part of their forced relocation. In 1832, the area around Hot Springs was set aside by the United States government, making it the first national park. As we conclude this series, we must recognize that honoring the sacred places we visited begins with honoring those who first found these places sacred. We recognize that we cannot change the past, and there is no way to make up for the deep wounds caused by the genocide of indigenous peoples. But what can we do? We can advocate for indigenous rights, for indigenous people to have access to the lands promised them, and for them to have a voice in stewardship of that land. We can advocate for the protection of sacred sites. We can remember the first names of places, which were given unjust names by those who took them. We can learn from our painful past to bring justice today. We can recognize that we are not separate from the land, but are a part of the greater web of creation. We are this land. Just as diverse indigenous groups have laid down conflict to be together in community at these sacred places for thousands of years, we can come together in all our differences to be in community with each other in these spaces, to be in community with the trees and creatures, to be part of a larger whole, to help each other reach the high peaks and to walk with each other through valleys, and to find peace together. May we seek these places for rest, restoration, recreation, and may we restore and preserve these places for generations to come, together as one people.